Super Bowl is always great for beer, but if you look at it, one of the data points I always use is that we sell more beer between Memorial Day and Labor Day every day than we do during the Super Bowl. So it is even in the middle of the week in the middle of July, we sell more beer than the weekend of the Super Bowl. So summer is like the key time frame for us, and
Heat
having
and
World Cup.
vacations do a lot to
Correct,
consumption.
and having heat and vacations, beaches, backyard grilling, like
So
all of
good.
that combined does really well.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Ad Podcast. It is day 2 here in beautiful Miami and Possible, and we have Brad Feinberg from Molson Coors and Colleen Meenan from Publicis here to talk a little bit about their possible agenda and what they've been up to. Thanks for coming on, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
So, tell us a little about what brought you guys to Possible this year. Brad, I know you have a panel coming up, or you already did it.
I already did it.
Nice. How'd it go?
It went really well.
Yeah. So, what were some of the big themes?
No surprising. At the forefront, I think a lot of the conversations at Possible is the role of AI in marketing and how brands are looking from both their agencies, their suppliers, as well as what they're building internally to continue to modernize how they think about the stuff that they do and the stuff that they create, the way they measure, all the different aspects of marketing. So a lot of the conversations in my talk at Possible was around kind of getting under the hood on how marketers or brands like us are thinking about AI and what role it plays in our business, and some of the challenges that I don't think a lot of people are talking about as well.
What would you say is the number one challenge for adoption across a large organization?
I think that for me, it's there's this expectation from key stakeholders, right, that this is something you can push of the button and build pretty instantaneously. And our learnings to date have been that it does take time to get to output that we're proud of sharing in front of consumers or really actioning against.
There's
and so
foundational elements that really have to be trained.
Correct. And so these tools are amazing in so many different ways, but they are not intuitive.
They're not a panacea.
They don't move
They
quickly.
don't all have prompt boxes.
Correct. Yeah. So
Colleen, do you want to talk about it a little bit from the Publicis side on the agency? I know you guys have had Marcel since before it was popular to brand your machine learning interagency tool, but anything cutting edge that you guys are seeing?
So similar to what Brad said, I think the challenge has been data foundations more than anything too,
the big
getting
conversation
everything.
at Shop Talk was, are you data ready?
Yeah.
Was the
We think about that for Molson, and we think about how is our all of their data held in a compliant way, but also structured in a way for any sort of future agentic use. But the biggest thing that we're focused on right now, though, is adoption with our teams, getting everyone. We have Play, which is built into Marcel, which we really just want people to use and have that muscle built on prompts, things that they can be doing to improve in their day-to-day world, and then also on the other,
essentially,
for sure.
Yep.
And then also on the other side, what solutions can we start to think about for clients, having productive sessions of where can we start to apply different things to our clients' data into the solutions that we're building together. But yeah.
Is there anything especially interesting for a beer company or a company that needs to think about things like LDA 21 compliance?
Oh, yeah.
Does that make it maybe easier to identify the right consumer, make sure you're not targeting people who can't drink or won't drink or are underage, so you don't have to scroll with a drop down and put your birthday in like some of the sites that make you do it? It's kind of an annoying user experience. It's can't you just tell that I'm 21?
So the rules of LDA compliance haven't changed because of AI.
Yeah.
So validating someone's birthday and people giving up their privacy is still at the forefront of it. So I don't think it's easier, but I do think that trying to better triangulate who are we focused on? Obviously, consumption is like, are there beer drinkers is like the first and foremost. But obviously, are they 21 plus is still important. But it's not like, unless someone's going to tell me here, like compliance is still our number one of like ensuring that it's 21 plus compliant. I don't think it's any easier, but learning more about people and like what they like, what they're interested in, how do we change their preferences, I feel like has only been better from AI, like of like what we can empower and unlock through our different data partners that we have, but also just like different solutions that we have. We have Epsilon People Cloud inside our teams that we can utilize, but obviously within like Circana, which is our huge partner, like they have a ton of insights. So I think that that's only going to get better with AI.
What about the implementation of digital IDs and facial authentication for logins for your social media accounts and other sites? Do you think our actual verified personality is going to become something that's injected into the open web more and more, where you'll be able to say this is definitely who I think it is? And are there implications for alcohol marketers with that?
Potentially, there are. I think obviously there's always at the opposite of that. There's also this like desire for more privacy controls for individuals. So I do think it's like we want to make sure people feel comfortable or confident as a user, as a marketer. Like we're going to adhere to whatever those privacy guidelines are. So I think that will be dependent on how that plays out and how it continues to evolve over time. But obviously, the more authenticated information we have on your demographics, specifically age, as a key piece of that from an alcohol beverage standpoint, the better we are at adhering to the guardrails that we've established as an industry, right? So we have very clear Beer Institute requirements from marketing to LDA consumers. And so if there is more sophisticated ways to ensure we're minimizing our opportunity to reach people that are not in that, meet that minimum requirement, the better we are as an industry, I think, in the long run, because there's no benefit as brands for us to go after anyone that can
it's wasted,
purchase. It's a wasted
yeah.
impression, correct?
So anything exciting that either of you guys have seen that you're like, this is really cool, I'm taking this back to the team, I want to have further discussions around this?
I wouldn't say anything. I can't point to anything necessarily that I've seen, but the conversations we've had have been enlightening and have created new opportunities. We have a new demand side platform that we're working with that we're onboarding today. So we've had a lot of opportunity with them here to like start to go a little bit deeper on some of what's in their product pipeline, how we can build that into our brand and our plans moving forward. And so specifically around the CTV space, some of the new acquisitions that they've made to help enhance the data that we'll have available to us to make better decisions, is those conversations I think have real value in terms of turning into actual business outcomes.
I would say the other, I feel like AI is just in everything, but the not AI has really been around creator. We've talked a lot about with, Molson's partnered with Influential, so we had conversations with them too of just like, how do we continue to iterate, ensure that we're delivering the right creators for our brands and for the right audiences. So I feel like, Molson's very focused on, ensuring that we have people who are authentic, who can speak to the brands and build, obviously, like the right trust, that they are credible. We just launched a great campaign for Miller Lite with Livvy Dunne. So, like, she's someone who has already supported the brand, and we, like, love that. So I think, like, the opposite of AI and just being more focused on, like, continuing to have the right relationships with creators and the content we can build from there is really important.
I love that on the creator side. It seems like, especially as we're continuing to move to an algorithm-based economy where followers don't matter as much as they used to. The algorithm gets a vote now, essentially, and somebody with a few thousand followers has just as much of an opportunity to go viral. I hate using that word, but it's true. Like, these are all at-bats for, earned media, essentially. Are you guys thinking about how well creator content performs in organic social as, like, the testing ground for what you are going to put paid media behind, and kind of thinking about that idea that, why would you put paid media behind something that didn't perform well? And if the algorithms are already saying, hey, this is a great piece of content, our users like this, we're going to show it to more people for free. So if you put money behind it, not only will people like it, not only generate results for you, but we'll give it to you for less money because we've already proved that people like it.
Is there a question in there? Because no, just because. Dylan, everything you've said is like spot on.
Yeah.
So like that is, we've done a lot of work recently in Molson Coors to we brought in an outside agency. We've decided that we needed to really up our game in the social space, specifically how we think about social and its role in the entire marketing mix. And it's always played an important role, at least for the last 10 plus years on the business, when social really became like a scalable channel. However, now it's incumbent upon brands, including us, to really reassess and evaluate the role of social overall and how we move into a world where things are more start with social rather than bolting social onto a bigger plan.
It's not like an extension of
Correct.
a TV campaign
and
or
to
a
your
Super Bowl
point,
buy or something.
Organic can be a very powerful way to test new propositions, to understand how consumers are interacting with our brands, whether that's working with creators, using their organic channels to understand and underscore like what's going on and how our brands can intersect with that, or whether we're building social content and we identify things that are gaining traction on these different platforms, whether it's
Trending
TikTok
moments.
or Meta, exactly,
Yeah.
and are there ways to amplify that, but both in the paid space, right? Or does that inspire something that lives off of social? Like, does the social campaign that started with an organic post turn into the foundation of a piece of TV copy in the future? Like, or how does that impact how we show up at retail in a terms of like a point of sale type of opportunity? Like, I think the lines between building things for social that live only in social, like those are started to, I think, evaporate, and there are more opportunities now to look beyond social as the starting point for how we think about marketing overall.
I love it. Colleen, you mentioned authenticity. I think consumers now are more aware of sponsorships than ever.
Yeah.
They don't mind if it has that authenticity. Like, if they've seen somebody posted about Coors Light 10 times over the last 5 years, and then all of a sudden they have a sponsorship, that actually is a progression that I think audiences really like, because they're like, oh my gosh, this person or that person really loved this brand, and that brand noticed them, and they came alongside them and became a champion of them, and they're elevating them and helping them be better creators. But if I'm drinking, a competitor beer for every single day for, in my feeds and in my posts, and then all of a sudden I post something, then that's where people start to be like, call, BS, or call at least like, that's a paid thing, and
Totally.
you don't have to pay more attention to it. So when I was on the creator side at a smaller agency, we used to talk to creators and really advise them, like, don't post about any brand, because we've had clients that have gone to events on behalf of, let's say, Corona, and then they didn't even get a sponsorship. They just went to an event. It showed up in feed, and then they were kind of, crossed off the list for at least a year. So I think creators are cognizant of that more than often. Even when they love brands, they don't want to spoil the category, so to speak. So what are some interesting ways that you're using data or capabilities to find true brand love that doesn't show up, in organic social for the creator conversation?
I feel like Influential is probably better to talk about this, because they have a whole host of solutions within formerly Captivate, and now also integrating their solution of like all of the different ways to look at it. But like, first and foremost, we have to look at like, is someone a drinker that we can like people know that they're a drinker, or if they're not a drinker and we have Zoa in the energy category, is that something they're interested in, or whatever the brand within the Molson portfolio is, like that is first and foremost. I think the thing though of finding people who are just like very specific to a brand is becoming like kind of impossible, to your point. Like I don't just drink, I drink Miller Lite and Coors Light if I'm going to drink a light beer, but like I drink wine, or and so I think
people are beverage explorers and brands.
Yeah, I think
brands
it's
trialists more than ever, right?
for sure, but it is also like, are you a drinker? Are you a fan of the brand or in the category? We obviously don't want you to be drinking our competitors if we're doing a partnership, but I think like there's also roles for different creators depending on what our objectives are, right? If it's like an everyday real creator and it's around our brand, yes, they need to be a huge fan of the brand. But if it's someone who we're really just trying to tap into World Cup, culture, and through the lens of our campaign, maybe that's a different role. Obviously, it's first and foremost, are you a fan of beer and the business? If you're overexposed in our competitive set, then that's probably not a fit. But I don't think it has to be someone who is like only a Miller Lite drinker has to. Livvy is a perfect example of someone who showed up. The team reached out to her in that exact example you said of like, hey, we saw this. Can we create something together? And that's like golden, right? And like that's also those opportunities we want to continue to find.
Yeah.
It's just that's like where there's magic, but then there's tons of great solutions within like Influential Captivate of like what they have to kind of better understand who's the right fit. And it's not just the tools and solutions. You need to talk to, agents and partners and everything.
It's still
to better
so much
understand.
as much as we would love creator marketing to be programmatic, it's great that it's tech enabled to such a high degree, but it's still a human business.
Yes, for sure.
I just add, obviously that Livvy example. I think there are more creators, maybe you'd be surprised, that do have affinities with beer brands in particular. And it's
And they
from
tend to be nostalgic too,
correct.
right?
They're nostalgic, or they've always like enjoyed this brand, or it reminds them of something, or it links to something that who they are. So we don't have. It's not that difficult to find creators with scale that actually have affinities with brands, and those are the most authentic relationships. We get a ton more, value out of those partnerships just because they want to do more because they love the brand so much. So we do find a lot of opportunity for that. The other piece that, in addition to that, is like more adjacent, is obviously contextually. So we have sports sponsorships, we have festival sponsorships, we have music sponsorships that with musicians that those obviously much deeper type of relationships. They are creators also, right? We have podcast sponsorships. I'd argue podcast sponsors are much on social as creators as they are recording their podcast. So those opportunities kind of cross the line.
Those channels blend.
Correct. And so we have a lot of opportunity there. So when we're doing a sponsorship with one of our NFL teams, right, we can tap into the athletes or former athletes of those teams to link to them. And those become really valuable types of relationships that can show up in big way on social.
You teased some ideas like World Cup, etc. What's the big next pulsing moment for you guys coming up that you're excited and building towards?
Well, World Cup is
yeah.
like going to be the center. The U.S. is being the center of the universe for World Cup in the middle of summer, and you talk about like all things lining up. You have June and July. Major markets, big World Cup events across U.S., Canada, LATAM, U.S. and Canada, where we're North America as an organization, more focused on U.S. And Canada as an organization. So there's a lot of opportunity in both geographies, and it happens to be the 250th birthday of the country, which there's a lot of Americana in our brands. We have 150-year-old brands in our portfolio, so there's a great linkage to heritage as it relates to that, and it's in the middle of what we call key beer selling season. So all those things lined up perfectly for hopefully a great summer for the business, right? Super Bowl is always great for beer, but if you look at it, one of the data points I always use is that we sell more beer between Memorial Day and Labor Day every day than we do during the Super Bowl. So it is, even in the middle of the week in the middle of July, we sell more beer than the weekend of the Super Bowl. So summer is like the key time frame for us, and having
Heat and
World Cup.
vacations do a lot to consumption.
Correct, and having heat and vacations, beaches, backyard grilling, all of that combined does really well. So obviously, having World Cup there this year is going to be a huge opportunity, not for the entire category, but for the business as well.
Amazing. We'll be watching closely and excited to see what you guys do and how you activate. For folks at home who want to follow along with your thinking, Colleen, Brad, do you guys want to point people anywhere to stay in touch and just follow what you guys are thinking about?
Yeah, I'm mostly just LinkedIn. I'm
go.
like the best way to get a hold of me is LinkedIn.
Perfect.
LinkedIn or email.
Okay.
Yeah.
I respond to just about every email I get,
Nice.
but that should not encourage everyone just to email me, just to be clear.
Thoughtful emails only, please.
But LinkedIn
Well-researched.
is also, I check that pretty frequently too.
Amazing. Thanks for coming on, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Yeah.